I really have to give a shout out to the potter who made this lovely chalice along with 3 others and a set of 4 matching patens for use in Holy Eucharist with the tech community. In fact, I think it might have been Nate Saunders who made this pottery for use by tech. But I know this, that nearly every time that I've had the privilege of celebrating Holy Eucharist with tech, with hundreds of teens and adults all gathered here, supporters in this church, I've also had the privilege of using this lovely pottery. And that makes me grateful to the one who gave their gifts, to the potter who used their hands to shape this for the blessing and use of many, many people. To me anyway, this chalice is pretty perfect. It fits just right in the hands. It stands firmly and balanced up on the altar. It has a smooth and a comfortable glaze covering on the inside and the outside of the cup. The colors are a soft hue, and they give a little bit of a lean toward the earth and toward the sky. Yep, for me, this cup, it's just right. Yet sometimes I wonder, how long did it take the potter to make that cup just so? How many times did they have to throw it and shape it, maybe tear it down and shape it again before it was entirely finished? Was it accomplished in an hour? Or maybe did it take a whole day, or perhaps even a lot longer? Because whatever time was spent, it was time well spent. And the cup that has come from that effort is a really, really good one. Now, I have had the opportunity to see a potter working at the wheel, and when the work begins, there's most certainly not a cup there. There's nothing really, only a mound of dirty, wet goo plopped on the center of a wheel. But then that wheel begins turning, yet still nothing happens really. Not until the potter reaches out with careful hands and begins to wrap them around the spinning mass of wet earth does anything really begin to show. Yet with careful manipulation, with a squeeze here and some pressure there and a push in the center and a pinch near the top, out pops the beginning of that chalice. Now, of course, that doesn't mean it's perfectly right just yet. With just a little too much pressure on one side, or with a bit of unexpected impurity in the clay, or maybe a pebble or a clump of dirt, the center is compromised, and the spinning form of the cup spreads wildly out of balance and out of control until the soft clay folds in upon itself, or maybe flies outward to fall apart. But the potter has come to expect that. Sometimes what you want is not quite what you get, yet you work through that, because your work is not through. And the clay is gathered up again by dirty working hands, and the spinning and the pressing and the forming and the shaping starts anew, and it continues on until the work is complete. How many tries did it take the potter to make the cup? 1, 2, 10, 30? Well, I'm not sure that it matters, because in the end, it is indeed made. And in the end, it is indeed good. So I'm wondering, how does it feel to you to be pressed and pushed, pinched and molded, shaped into that very thing which you were born to become? Do you find these times challenging? I know I do. Sometimes my heart aches for the burdens that so many people must bear. Yet the prophet Isaiah says we are all like clay, and that means that somewhere near us, somewhere in our lives, there must be a potter. Like clay on the wheel, we don't start out as everything that we will need to become. Each and every day of our lives brings some new shape to what it will be, some new experience that forms and molds us. And not every bit of that experience is comfortable. With all that pinching and molding and pressing on the clay on the potter's wheel, I sometimes wonder, what if that clay had feelings or nerves and sensitivities? Then I think, well, we surely do. And all that pinching and molding and pressing and shaping going on now in us might be a bit uncomfortable. It might even begin to hurt. Do you ever get the feeling that we human beings are not quite yet shaped into what it is that we need to become? I know that feeling is there for me sometimes in my life, but I can also feel it all around me in the life of the world. I really don't think humankind is complete. I think we're still spinning on that potter's wheel. We still fuss and fight. We suffer and we cause suffering. And people take unfair advantage of one another. We can become ill. We can get hurt. Yet all that we experience and all that we endure is shaping us as a people, and it's shaping us as individuals. Sometimes the things which shape us are pleasant and sometimes they aren't. But either way, we are being pressed to change. Maybe that change comes because you find the love of your life. Maybe it's experiencing the death of a friend. Maybe it's in educating your mind. Maybe it's working day by day at the same old job. Or maybe it's losing that job. Maybe it's the unrest in today's politics. Or maybe it's illness. But whatever it may be that presses upon you, might these experiences be a little bit like the hands of that potter, pressing and pinching and pulling and pushing, trying to help us become something we need to become, working with whatever it is that we are to become what we need to be. Sometimes things go wildly out of control, and like that clay that has lost its balance, we too find ourselves broken and scattered. But the potter knows what to do. The potter is still there until the work is finished. And slowly but surely we're gathered back to center, and the world keeps turning, and we're being formed and shaped again and again. And that is all right after all, I think. We are not perfect. We need shaping because we are still becoming. And I think, does it matter to me now that the tech chalice might have been shaped many, many times before it was finished? No. That chalice has become just right, no matter how many times it had to be formed. That shaping and reshaping is all a part of the process of becoming. That chalice is what it is by the patient and continuous work of the potter. And so too will we become what we need to become when we rest in the hands of our Lord, our potter, when we accept that we may be a work that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, even a lifetime, before it's complete. So, patience. We talk about that in the season of Advent. Advent may be a time for waiting and watching for the coming of the Christ, but the prophet reminds us that even while we wait, we remain clay in the hands of the potter, being shaped and molded by unseen but ever-present hands. Even as the world struggles on, we are being shaped by the hope of healing and wholeness promised so long ago in the birth of a holy child, a promise that we remember so strongly in this holy season. How many times must the potter throw a cup, mold the clay, press it into place, return it to a shapeless mass, start up again, molding us, pressing us, preparing us for what we are to be? Well, as many times as it takes, I suppose. As many Advents as we are given. But our hope remains firm that in the end, God, the master potter, is bringing things to their ultimate perfection.